Derrick Henry has signed a contract extension with the Baltimore Ravens. 2 years, $30 million. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to see that daily Ravens content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. Now, in this video today, I'm obviously talking about Derrick Henry's big contract extension. I know there's probably a couple of videos you guys want me to talk about, including the NFL schedule release. I might talk about a take I have at the end of this video, but probably not. I'll probably do that tomorrow, talking about the NFL or the Ravens schedule. Which was released yesterday. But Derrick Henry signed a contract extension yesterday. I think that's more important. I think that's bigger to the Ravens season, the Ravens future, than figuring out the order of the teams that we already knew who we were going to play and which games are in prime time. But 2 years, $30 million, $25 million fully guaranteed. This is a huge contract. This is a great contract. This is what the Ravens needed to do, because when you look at the two best running backs in the NFL last year, not only were they both older backs, but they were both older backs that went to new teams and had 1,800 and 1,900 rushing yards individually, right? Saquon Barkley on the Eagles, Derrick Henry on the Ravens. Both players dramatically changed their franchises in terms of just how imposing their rushing attack was, and made them true title contenders. The Eagles winning the Super Bowl, the Ravens being, in the playoffs, had a chance to potentially go to the Super Bowl, ended up losing in the divisional round to the Buffalo Bills, but were widely considered a strong contender the entire year. But both running backs, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, were older players, and they were given kind of cheap contracts because the running back market was super low. They were both given, 2-year deals, and they both balled out in their first year. And now both teams have gone out and said, yo, all right, we'll give you your money. And Saquon got a huge contract with the Eagles this offseason. And now Derrick Henry gets his contract as well. All right. This is a pivotal point in maybe NFL history right now that we're looking at with this offseason and the contracts. Not just because the running backs are getting paid, but the running backs are getting paid. 31-year-old Derrick Henry is getting $15 million a year for 2 years and $25 million guaranteed. A 30-plus-year-old running back has never made anything like that kind of money. But it's not just the running backs. It's all the positions, right? $40 million for a premier edge rusher. That's quarterback money for a lot of teams, right? Daniel Jones, now, Daniel Jones, again, not the best player to bring up, but Daniel Jones just a couple of years ago signed a $40 million a year contract with the Giants, which was the contract basically saying, like, hey, this is our franchise guy. And now that money is going to players of the likes of Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. And I'm not going to say that these are bad football players, right? They're the best of the best. But wow, teams are now focusing on pass rushers, running backs, not as much as just going send it all to the quarterback. And maybe that's with, the new belief that, you can win with these younger guys, right? The Washington Commanders with a rookie quarterback got to the NFC Championship game. Obviously, the Niners went to the Super Bowl with a quarterback on a rookie contract. So it's almost like teams are trying to build these, great teams without their quarterback yet, right? With Myles Garrett going to the Browns, re-signing with the Browns with a massive contract. The Steelers don't have their quarterback yet. Luckily, the Ravens do have their quarterback, but that makes it harder to team build, right? Because when you have other teams that are willing to pay $30 million, right, for a pass rusher, right? Because you'll pay 40 for Myles Garrett, right? But if you have a Pro Bowler, right, teams might pay him 25 mil now at edge rusher, 30 mil. So keeping your players is integral, right? And paying them early, paying them before they have those big breakouts. I think this contract, right, they wanted to show, like, hey, we don't want to let our players get on the open market. Do not let Derrick Henry get to free agency. And I think they need to have that mindset with Isaiah Likely. They need to have that mindset with Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, with the players that they are going to keep. They need to make sure they don't get on the open market because, one, if we franchise tag them, the franchise tag is a percentage of the highest paid players at that position. That those numbers are just skyrocketing right now. Even higher, like the last like 15 years, right? Quarterbacks have just the other players, like they're still going up, right? But quarterbacks this way, other positions this way. Now, quarterbacks, they're still going up, right? But the other positions are also going up. As I just like kind of cover half my face, I apologize. But now that it's kind of even. And so you got to make sure it's not just quarterbacks that get down early. You got to make sure you get your corners, right? You got to make sure you get your safeties because the safety market is kind of the one position group now left in the NFL that hasn't shot up in value. And someone did sign this offseason with the Lions for like $22 million a year. Kyle Hamilton's going to be making probably 25 mil a year if they sign him now. But if they sign him after this year, might be 30. And I'd pay him whatever. I'd write Kyle Hamilton a blank check. But you can't do that with 5 players, right? There's 2 players on the Ravens that I'm like, you got to have them no matter what. Lamar Jackson, Kyle Hamilton. I think they're both just that special. But you can't, right? You can't just go out there and say, "Oh yeah, I love Isaiah Likely," because I love Isaiah Likely. You guys know that. I think he's one of the top 7 tight ends in the NFL. But you can't pay him in extreme money because tight ends are now making so much money. Running backs are now making so much money. It used to be like at least running back you could get cheap. That's not the case anymore, right? You got to draft young. And it's going to be harder to keep players with how these running backs are getting paid, the tight ends, the edges. It's going to be really difficult. But let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions on the Derrick Henry contract. I think it's a good move. I think it's a smart move. Derrick Henry's terrific. Hopefully the Ravens get a Super Bowl with him. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.